Hey, welcome to Bridging Generations in Sales and Outreach. This is the show where we talk about how the different generations buy, and we also talk about why most salespeople are missing that. So, I just want to have a real authentic call today. I just want to tell you what's on my mind, and this is we're going to have three shows after this on this topic, and I believe they're going to be don't miss. And remember, you can see them live uh, on Friday mornings right here at 10 o'clock Eastern Standard Time in the U.S. And you can see them or you can get them on YouTube also. So uh, let's hop in and get started. One, it was my intention to do this show in coffee shops because we always share that with our guests that we don't want this to be an interview. We just want to be like the guest and I are talking in a coffee shop. I actually went to a coffee shop this morning, and I believe everybody was in there doing something pretty heavy because the internet wouldn't really support what we wanted to do this morning. So this is my backyard, and I drink a lot of coffee back here. So if you have coffee, please enjoy it. Uh, so I don't know decided who decides generations, and for as long as I can remember, and I'm pretty old, you had baby boomers, and then we had Gen Xers, and the generation person in the sky uh, decided that we needed to break up baby boomers. So now we've got baby boomers are people born between 1945 and 1954. Gen Xers stay the same, born after 1960 or 1965 to 1975. Uh, Now that middle part now, born 1955 to 1964, are known as Gen Joneses. And interestingly, I fall into the Gen Jones category, which personally I like because I didn't like being called a baby boomer. And Jones comes from is keeping up with the Joneses. And if you're a baby boomer, you know what that means. You may know what it means if you're a Gen Xer because you saw your parents do it. And if you don't know, just Google that. Uh, so, why is that important? It's important for this reason, and it's the reason they split baby boomers. Uh, People that fall into Gen Jones buy differently than the people who uh, are baby boomers and the people that are Gen Xers. And interestingly, all three of those categories buy in a different way. Uh, so there are two things you need to understand if you're in sales, and most salespeople haven't gotten this yet. Number one is you have to understand the characteristics of the baby boomer buyer, the Gen Jones buyer, and the Gen X buyer. Then, in addition to that, you've got to understand why they buy. One of the biggest mistakes I see salespeople make is they don't understand how their buyer buys. They tend to come into a sales interview, they have their solution, they vomit their solution all over the buyer, and the buyer says those those words all salespeople hate. Let me think about it, because you just gave them a solution to a problem they don't believe they have. So what we're going to talk about just that on the show for the spotlight show for the next three sessions. Uh, I believe I believe this is what baby boomers do really well, and Gen Jonesers probably know about it, but don't do it as well as baby boomers. Buyers buy from people that they know, like, and trust, and you've probably heard that until it makes you just go crazy. Uh, but it's true. I've been in sales for 45 years. I learned that probably in the second year that I was selling, completely changed the way I sold, and it's been successful. What has changed is how you build know, like, and trust. If you're a baby boomer, Jen Joneser, you remember back in the day, it was all about making phone calls, knocking on doors, shaking hands, uh, taking people to sporting events or plays or concerts or whatever they wanted to go to. And you were really able, because you had a lot of FaceTime one on one, to build relationships. Uh, that's just not how the world works now. And COVID was a big factor in making that happen. Uh, COVID stopped those things. You could not do those things during COVID, and salespeople had to find a different way to build that know, like, and trust. And the way you have to do it now, or at least start with, is on how visible you are to the buyers that are in your market. Do the buyers in your market know who you are? Uh, See, younger Gen Jonesers probably have a pretty good feel of this because they grew up with social media. They grew up with Instagram. They grew up with YouTube. They grew up with Facebook. It's a little tougher for us older Gen Jonesers and baby boomers to realize that that's some of the stuff that we have to do now. You have to be willing to make yourself visible to who your buyers are. And ultimately, what you want to be is, if somebody that's in your ideal customer profile thinks, we need something, we got this problem, we need a solution, that you've been visible enough that you're somebody they might even reach out to, without even you reaching out to them. And one of the things that we want to do is uh, to show you how to do that if you're not doing it, and show you how to partner with maybe a Gen Xer that's in your company that can help you with that. Team y'all up. Uh, Going back to what I said earlier, I do believe that one of the biggest mistakes salespeople make is they've got their sales pitch, they've got their ideas of what the customer should do, and they start in with that, telling the customer all the great stuff they have, all the reasons it's the best, all the reasons it's the fastest, all the reasons it lasts the longest, and the buyer's sitting there thinking, I don't have that problem. The first thing you've got to do is find out if the buyer has a problem and find out if you can solve it. And that sounds very simple, but I promise most salespeople aren't doing that. And then, even if you understand their problem, you have to understand why they buy. And I'm going to tell you a completely true story that I was involved with. I had two partners, two people that had come over, taken over an agency for a major insurance company. And let's call one of them uh, Allah, and let's call one of them uh, Haven. So and I knew that they had both just moved in from Indianapolis. So I asked Haven, hey, when you moved here, how did you decide where you were going to build your house? And Haven said, well, first off, we looked at the schools because we were concerned for our kids. Then we looked at what the taxes were, what houses cost, uh, what my commute to work was going to be coming and going. And he listed about five other things. And then I asked Olive how he decided where he was going to move. And he said, my wife and I walked into this house. The first thing we saw was this beautiful staircase going upstairs. We both said, wow, this is our spot. So, what did I learn from that? What I learned from that one question is, with Haven, if I'm going to sell Haven, he's going to want all the details. He's going to want to know, how all the widgets work exactly. How does this work step by step to get what you say the solution is? No problem. If you're a good salesperson, you can do that. With Doug, I knew it had to be a wow, that it had to have a pop to it. And again, you salespeople know that. But if you sell John, sorry, if you sell Haven the same way you sell Doug, he ain't going to be interested because you hadn't told him what he wants to know. And again, if you try to sell uh, Allah the way you sold Haven, he's going to think, I don't care about any of this. What's it going to, what problem that I have is it going to solve, and why aren't you telling me? So that's the key takeaway for today. And we're going to talk, like I said, we're going to talk about that in the next or 3 episodes. And also on our regular shows, we're bringing in people, salespeople, business owners, uh, and we're talking about these subjects: how you craft your message, one, to attract your ideal customer, and two, how do you become visible to your ideal customer, and three, how do you begin to understand how your customer buys. And I promise, if you get a good feel for that, there's no reason that your sales shouldn't increase. So I want to wrap it up today with this: sales is hard, and I've been in it for 45 years. Uh, but one great thing about sales is you can make a lot of money, and you can also make a lot of people happy by solving their problem. So, what we're going to talk about next week is building true relationships with each of the three generations that we talked about. We said people want to buy from people they know, like, and trust. So next week we're going to talk about how you build that know, like, and trust with baby boomers, with Gen Joneses, and with Gen Xers. So remember this until next week: generations buy differently, and they don't want to be sold. Nobody wants to be sold. They want you to solve a problem that they have. So join us next week on, or not next week, but you'll know when the next episode is. And next week we'll have a show where we bring in a guest, and you always learn. I always learn something from a guest, and we'll be sitting across the table having a cup of coffee. I appreciate you watching the show today. Put your comments, if you have any, in the chat. If there's anything I can do to help you, please reach out. If I can't help you, I probably know somebody who can, and I'll be happy to introduce you to them. So have a great week, and we'll see y'all next Friday.